At the edge of the Pacific, the crew of the Ocean Pearl prepares for a high-stakes run into the deep offshore reef drop-offs of Hawaii. Captain Lars plots their course toward the offshore reef drop-offs, where warm currents collide with the cold deep sea. Every valve and airline must withstand the freezing pressure. System failure out here means decompression danger. On the deck, deckhand Anton inspects the bow lines, ensuring the ice hasn't locked the safety ropes.
Anton wrestles the frozen bow line, breaking the ice grip to prepare the vessel for release. Cast off, the vessel slips away from the harbor, heading toward the volatile fishing grounds of the north.
Engaging the main diesel engine, the captain guides the steel vessel into the rising swell of the open Gulf.
The hull pushes through the coastal swell, embarking on a transit to the deep diving grounds of the Molokai Channel.
Passing the outer marker buoy, the crew leaves the last navigational warning behind. As the harbor disappears in the morning fog, the crew enters a silent world, governed only by the cold wind. Behind the main cabin, engineer Kaelen accesses the gear locker. Helmet safety is key to diving the deep trenches. The heavy bronze helmet must be checked and calibrated. Pressure protection is critical below 50 meters. The bronze helmet is placed on the workbench, and the crew must verify all seals before diving operations.
Each breathing hose is locked by hand, a life support check that guarantees a steady supply of air.
Lars operates the air spool panel controls, establishing the flow rate for the diver's umbilical line. Running through the guide ring, the umbilical line deploys, connecting the diver to the deck supply. The steel dive basket slides over the rail, launching the primary platform into the ocean. Anton presses the compressor manifold button, unlocking the flow valves to feed air to the deep helmet. The wet air hose zips out, throwing salt water spray as the drag of the deep ocean currents pulls it down.
Kaelen lifts the heavy marker buoy, preparing to set another safety indicator on the dive line. Releasing the yellow buoy, Kaelen marks the midsection of the line, keeping track of the deep gear. The yellow buoy bobs in the swells, a silent marker tracking their gear across the open Atlantic depths. Lars scans the depth screen, looking for the undersea ridges where warm water currents feed the oyster beds. Lars logs the coordinates on the paper chart, documenting the path of their deep dive string. Anton and Kaelen snap hook after hook, maintaining a continuous deployment flow under the gray skies.
The crane lifts the final stack of baskets, preparing the deck for the deep set deployment release. The last collection basket plunges into the swells, completing the deployment of the miles-long line.
From the helm console, Lars monitors the deck, watching the crew secure the main harness block.
Anton rests his body for a moment. Out here, the cold wind drains energy as fast as the heavy physical labor. Kaelen checks the compressor pressure, ensuring the pump is stable before the heavy dive begins. The vessel rides the swells, pushing through the cold waves of the open Pacific under dark skies. Kaelen shovels fresh ice into the totes, preparing the bins to preserve the oyster catch immediately. Night operations begin under the cold halogen lights, salting the green deck floor to prevent dangerous ice formation. Anton maintains his watch post, keeping visual checks on the dark sea for ice blocks and floating gear. Freezing fog rolls in at dawn, masking the horizon and isolating the vessel in a cold, silent gray expanse. Approaching the drop point, the vessel locks coordinates, locating the frost-crusted marker buoy line. Bracing against the roll, Anton readies the gaff pole, aligning the steel hook to catch the floating line. Bracing against the wave surge, Anton hooks the floating buoy, hauling the wet poly rope in toward the rail. Lars engages the hydraulic block. The line grows taut instantly, singing under the heavy 300-meter tension. The line coils rapidly on the wet deck, throwing off seawater drops that freeze on the steel planks. Kaelen detaches the empty branch clip, coiling the line back into the storage bin to prepare for diving.
Lars adjusts the hydraulic alignment, ensuring the heavy main line wraps evenly onto the drum reel.
The crew maintains their posts at the rail, watching the rising line for any signs of a catch.
A juvenile oyster comes over the rail. Too small for market, this catch must be released.
Kaelen carefully removes the steel wire, ensuring minimal damage to the young shell.
Anton returns the juvenile to the ocean, preserving the stock for future seasons.
Kaelen rinses the workbench table, preparing the deck for the next haul in the long string. Anton hooks the second buoy line, coordinating with Lars to steer the vessel close to the haul point. A massive wire basket breaks the surface, swinging against the rail in a storm of white spray.
Anton and Kaelen secure the load with double gaffs, hoisting the heavy basket over the low steel rail.
The basket lands on the green deck, its heavy wire frame shimmering in the cold daylight. Kaelen pries the oyster shell to check the contents, a necessary step to search for natural pearls.
Anton measures the diameter of the shell, documenting the commercial size before cleaning the catch.
An Atlantic blizzard rolls in over the Molokai Channel, glazing the steel structures and gantry in thick layers of freezing snow.
Anton climbs the wet pedestal ladder, his gloved hands feeling the slick metal rungs as he ascends.
A freezing wave crashes over the port rail, washing the deck in seawater and straining the gear ties. Captain Lars fights the wheel, counter-steering to keep the bow aligned against the charging swells.
Snow sheets build on the wheelhouse window, narrowing visibility as the storm isolates the vessel.
The mainline spool cable sings under high tension, vibrating as it holds a heavy load outside the rail.
Freezing rain and a line tangle have locked the compressor regulator valve, halting air control while the line remains suspended.
Suspended above the rising waves, the heavy line swings wildly, threatening to tangle under the hull.
Attention deck. Jammed regulator valve on the auxiliary. I need hands on it immediately. Report status.
Anton steps onto the slippery deck floor, carrying the steel wrench to clear the jammed valve. Bracing against the rolling deck, Anton cuts the tangled nylon bundle encasing the joint. The sharp cut splits the tangled bundle, releasing the regulator valve from the nylon grip. Kaelen braces the harness, holding the deckhand steady as the vessel pitches in the heavy swells.
The bright yellow joint is exposed. The crew checks the air fittings to ensure the line is intact.
Lars engages the pedestal joystick. The regulator valve moves smoothly, bringing the pressure back to safe levels. The line is secured on the wet deck floor after minutes of tension in the open squall.
Anton hooks the heavy tie-down chain, locking the spool to the deck ring to prevent any shifting. Exhausted by the cold and the physical effort, Anton takes a brief rest, his breath steam rising in the freezing air. Lars checks the GPS coordinates, calculating the route toward the protected reef edges of Hawaii. Under the cold night floodlights, the tired crew hoists the next collection basket, maintaining the harvest rhythm. Anton pulls the hatch rope, releasing the door latch to dump the contents onto the sorting table. Kaelen applies the second gaff, stabilizing the heavy shell to ensure a safe offload on the deck. Together, the crew hoists the heavy oyster, preparing to weigh the harvest on the analog scale. Kaelen cuts the mussel to open the oyster, a necessary step to search for natural pearls. Anton logs the diameter details on a heavy plastic tag, keeping a precise physical record of the pearl. Kaelen opens the pearl storage box, preparing to store the golden pearl in a padded tray. As dawn breaks, the storm passes, leaving a cold, silver light rolling across the quiet waters.
Anton adjusts the spool tension, matching the hydraulic pull to the diver's descent.
Kaelen preps the safety rope, ready to secure the diver before the final hoist onto the deck. The dive basket breaks the surface, thrashing against the hull in a storm of white spray.
Bring it up now. Clear the edge, Anton. Push it in.
Anton and Kaelen apply gaff hooks, hoisting the record-breaking giant oyster over the low steel rail. Anton throws the tail rope loop, lassoing the shell hinge to stop the giant oyster from thrashing. The crane hook is locked onto the tail rope bridle, ready to hoist the giant oyster inboard. The giant oyster lands on the rubber mat landing zone, stabilized by the deckhand team.
Anton and Kaelen measure the record oyster, logging the exact size in their database.
Anton logs the record diameter on the tag, completing the physical data record. Kaelen places the giant pearl in the velvet tray, ensuring the record harvest is protected.
Lars smiles at the helm navigation table, relieved to have secured the record haul.
The vessel sails smoothly, heading back toward the shoreline of Oahu under a calm sky.
Kaelen services the air compressor, maintaining the fittings after the intense storm strain.
Entering the harbor channel, the vessel prepares to moor, completing the winter pearl harvest. Mooring at the dock, Anton throws the primary bow line, securing the vessel to the harbor piling. Anton wraps the heavy hemp line on the dock cleat, locking the vessel stationary against the tidal pull. Kaelen opens the storage box, preparing the deep-sea cargo for the harbor handover. The harbor shore crane lowers the offload hook, beginning the harvest transfer sequence. Anton and Kaelen retrieve the first oyster basket, attaching the safety loop to the shore crane hook. Kaelen hooks the record-breaking storage box, locking the gantry connector onto the handle rope.
Together, the crew guides the hoist line, stabilizing the valuable box as it swings inboard. Anton locks the gantry guide bracket, securing the hoist line before the final lift to the dock. The shore crane hoists the valuable box, swinging the cargo over the rail to the harbor dock. Suspended in the cold harbor air, the valuable box represents the peak of their winter labor.
The crane places the storage box on the dock table, where the official grading will begin. He inspects the pearl, checking the luster and diameter that determine the premium grade value.
Lars reviews the logistics, cross-referencing the harvest logbook sheets with the harbor agent.
The agent signs the delivery receipt, confirming the total value of the golden pearls.
Lars receives the payment check of $173,900.
With a proud smile, Lars pockets the check, marking another successful harvest for the ocean pearl.
Anton sweeps the aft deck floor, restoring order to the boat before the crew prepares for the next run. With the vessel secured and the gear stowed, the ocean pearl rests, ready for the next deep harvest.